Welcome to the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast, presented by the Fantasy Football World Championship, home to the industry's most accurate rankings.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast. I am your host, Adam Krautwurst, and with me again for the first time in a long time, Mr. Jody Smith. How are you doing today, sir? Draft weekend. Let's go.
Yeah, I was up kind of late. Well, at least for me, but it's good to finally get back together with you. It's been a while, so I'm really excited to talk about the draft and how everything went last night.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun time here for sure. Locked in, exciting draft last night to kick everything off. Some surprises, some fun for fantasy football, which is really what we're here for. Had some trades, had some quarterbacks go maybe higher than we thought, but
you're like me, you're into these mock draft competitions and whatnot. It's kind of funny. This is the unusual year where people that would have stayed with the chalk probably ended up doing a lot better. If like with the huddle contest, you have to turn that in Wednesday night, so you're sitting here projecting these trades that never played out, so it kind of throws off the whole mock draft. But staying by the chalk would have been the approach this year.
Exactly. For sure. But listen, tonight we've got the round 2 and round 3 of the NFL draft, and also tonight there's a best ball draft tonight at over at Full-Time Fantasy over at the FFWC. And that draft tonight, we're giving away a $50 giveaway for an entry into that. And in order to get that $50 free entry into tonight's draft, you have to guess. I have written down in our private chat here, Jody, where I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will end this season at wide receiver, where he will finish. Will he be the number 1 wideout, the number 20 wideout, the number 8 wideout? Overall, where he will finish, I have it in our private chat written down. So whoever guesses closest to that number, you get one guess. Whoever guesses closest in the chat, throw it in the chat. We will give you a free entry into tonight's best ball draft. $50 entry. Throw it in the chat there. Where will Marvin Harrison Jr.
Will he finish better than Jackson Smith and Jigba did last year?
That's right. Spoiler alert, probably yes. Probably yes. So no, this is going to be fun. So let's kick it off. I know we got a 30-minute hard out here. You got personal stuff to do. This is my second show of the day. I got stuff to do, and there's a big draft coming up tonight. So, Jody, overall thoughts, maybe in a minute or two here, just overall thoughts on kind of how the draft went so far, maybe biggest surprises or whatever.
Well, the surprises was how much emphasis was on offense. I think in all of our mock drafts, we kind of thought this is a really strong offensive draft versus defense, but what was it? It was picked until the Colts picked. I think it was the first 14 picks were offensive players, which I think was unprecedented. And then the quarterback run. Overall, the over under for quarterbacks was leaning under, but it was another number below that. So to me, in my mock, I thought maybe the Raiders trade back up with somebody like the Lions at the bottom, and they get Penix. And I didn't project Knicks to go in the first. Instead, all of them went top 12, six quarterbacks at the start of the draft. I mean, it's just crazy. And then the whole Michael Penix thing. I mean, wow. I don't even know what to think. I mean, yeah, the history for Atlanta Falcons and left-handed quarterbacks, I guess you could say, hey, we had some success back in the day, but total head scratcher for me. I wrote that up on our draft winners and losers this morning that no matter which way I mix it, I just can't make it work for the Falcons. But overall, I felt like in my mock, I was fairly accurate. When I thought I had 30 of the 32 players correctly listed, I think it ended up actually being 29. I must have made some last-second revision, but overall, as far as my mock draft, it was actually kind of mediocre just because when you project a trade and you miss that one, it really throws off the entire thing for you.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, and back to the Falcons, a loser. I absolutely think they're losing this draft. a lot of people don't think Penix is good. Even if he is good, he's going to sit. And you signed $100 million deal for Cousins. I mean, I don't understand it any which way because the NFC South is weak. Like they could have taken a really. I get if you don't want a receiver, you've got to, you've got Pitts, you got a good young receiver already in Drake London, but you could have got Roma Dunze there. You could have traded back. You got a really good offensive lineman there. I'm sure they need help on defense. They could have pushed to really win this division this year. Or if they wanted Penix, they could have just not spent the $100 million on Kirk Cousins. I think it was a terrible.
And that's the thing, Adam. When you're signing for $100 million, of which was $50 million guaranteed, his contract is pretty much ironclad. Like even in 2026, when there's an out, it's still a $35 million cap hit for the Falcons. You're pretty much all in at that point when you're signing that kind of contract to a 35, 36, however old Kirk Cousins is. And, we've lamented Arthur Smith all these years about the weapons the Falcons have. So we thought finally we can get a credible quarterback in there to take advantage of these nice pieces they have in Bijan and Kyle Pitts and Drake London. They can actually start having the semblance of a real offense. But then you turn around and exactly what you just said, and the Falcons are a little weak at receiver, and you had Roma Dunze, sitting there, and that would have been really, really interesting. Instead, and that's the thing with Penix, he's already 24 years old.
Right.
If you're signing him because you think that he is, a developmental thing, well, I don't understand why you're committing the kind of salary cap that space to, a quarterback to sit. Maybe you're inspired by the whole Jordan Love thing. I don't know. And gosh, I had one more point about Cousins. I mean, if you're concerned about him recovering from the Achilles, why did you sign him to $100 million contract with $1 million guaranteed? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely the biggest kind of question mark of the draft here. But the top three picks were pretty chalk, right? It was Caleb Williams, it was Jaden Daniels, and then we knew early on in the day, or maybe the day before, it was going to be Drake May there. No big surprises here. Daniels, I like Daniels more than May, and I think Caleb Williams lands in a beautiful spot. I think he's a big time winner in Chicago with Keenan Allen and all the weapons they have there now with a Dunze, and I just think really, a line that's getting better, and they got more picks, right? So I think they're going to do some.
Williams has sneaky fantasy upside right away.
DJ Moore there too. Yes.
DJ Moore. You got Cole Kmet, DJ Moore. And that's a nice, solid three receivers, and you've got a really good fantasy tight end there. There's some nice weapons, and not to mention you've got Swift in the backfield. There's some good weapons there.
Yes, for sure. Jaden Daniels, I like that he landed in Washington and not in New England. New England is dead. They've got no talent on the offense there. At least Washington has a little bit there. Drake May for Dynasty, I think he drops significantly because of his location. But the draft really for me started at pick 4 with the Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison Jr. There was talk of the Vikings moving up to take McCarthy. They end up getting him at 10. But what do you think of Marvin Harrison to the Cardinals?
Well, prior to the draft, I liked Malik Neighbors just ahead of Harrison.
Okay.
Fast forward to right now. Now that we know landing spots, you have to reverse those. I don't see any how. That Kyler Murray is more than capable of supporting a fantasy wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. We saw it with Hollywood Brown when he was healthy. We saw it with DeAndre Hopkins. And I think Marvin Harrison is just pretty much locked into, heavy target share. When I wrote the draft winners and losers this morning, you have to think, he's going to be on pace for, it's going to hurt Trey McBride, but for Harrison, really 150 targets. It's entirely feasible that he could get that and right away. And meanwhile with Neighbors, landing spot, it could have been worse, but not much worse because here you are depending on Daniel Jones, who's been mostly a disappointment. He hasn't been able to support, a great fantasy asset out of the receiving core yet in his career. And also Jones is recovering from an injury. So I still like Neighbors, I mean, now, in Dynasty, I probably would reverse the two. And, I know how high you are, on Harrison. So, you still like them and they're still a tier ahead of the other guys. But, you have to, I think now that we know landing spots, they flip in order.
Yeah, I think Brian Dable is going to have an opportunity here to really show. Like when he was up in Buffalo with Stephon Diggs, they force fed the ball to Diggs, and this was, people didn't think Allen could throw. People thought Allen was going to be a bust. They bring in Diggs, they force feed Diggs. I don't think Daniel Jones is really. I mean, who have they had there that he's really been able to throw to? I agree. I think Harrison should be higher, but Neighbors is going to get. I mean, you're the projections guy. Neighbors is going to get a ton of targets there too. And I think. It's big city. I think Neighbors is going to shine there. He's going to be like the Odell Beckham type of player. LSU, very athletic, big, strong, fast, the whole package. So I think Neighbors is going to be fine there this year. And I think he's going to get a ton of targets in Dable's offense. But either way, going to be exciting for those guys there. Rome Odunze to Chicago. Good for him getting with Caleb Williams, maybe good for Dynasty, but maybe the first year, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, the tight end there, Cole Kmet. I mean, I know it's early, but, and I know it's like an overall nice spot for him, but he might be the wide receiver 3 there.
Yeah, and I loved Dunze. You look at Matt Herman's reception perception chart, and it's the most gorgeous chart you've ever seen. It's like all green. He was awesome. I comped him to Larry Fitzgerald, and that is a very strong compliment to a guy with great hands, with savvy route running. He's good combination of size and speed. He's everything you want in a receiver. But and I'm not downgrading him much in Dynasty simply because I believe in him as a prospect that much. However, his 2023. There's 2024 value, it's a little muted, I think, just because of landing spot, because, at best he's the, second/third option. Yeah. And we are talking of a rookie quarterback. Like I said, I talked about how I think Caleb Williams has sneaky redraft QB1 potential right away. If he's going to live up to everything, he'll be right there on the grasp easily as top quarterback in this draft. But it'll just be an issue of will there be enough targets for Odunze to be the player that we all kind of thought he could be right away.
Yeah, he's a guy that I definitely like more in Dynasty than I like in redraft. I think a lot of people are going to get into that, once the projections come out, all that type of stuff. But yeah, I think being the wide receiver 3, most likely for a rookie quarterback is going to be interesting, even one as talented as Caleb Williams for sure. A loser that I saw in your loser column, which I do totally agree. Michael Mayer, a loser for the tight end for the Raiders. Quarterback issues, and then they add maybe the greatest tight end prospect we've ever seen with Brock Bowers. But I feel like Bowers couldn't have landed in a worse spot either, as far as all those same things. A solid tight end already there, fine, whatever. But question zero quarterback to speak of there. And, Devontae Adams being the target hog. I just feel like there were places that he could have landed that would have been much better than this.
I mean, I'm going to assume that the Raiders had a plan at quarterback. Like I said, that maybe they were going to take tackle in the first round and thought they'd be able to trade back up for Penix or perhaps for Nix. It's not to say they can't still salvage the situation. They are, towards the middle of round 2. There may still be an option. They can beef up their quarterback room, but I think at this point it's highly unlikely that they feel like, at 44 that they're going to find a starting quarterback. So, it's more likely they're just going to beef up their room and all that. But, at this point, it might. The Raiders should consider just employing like a 12 offense full time all the time, be up there at, 60, 75% running 2 tight ends. Cause you essentially can take Bowers and line him up anywhere. And the same thing for Mayer, probably more of an inline option. You put Bowers as basically your big slot and just run that plan.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Which is what they're going to do. But they probably didn't think Bowers was going to be there. And like you said, they're probably waiting for him.
I mean, understandably, I mean, it's hard to say. Yeah, it's exactly right. Most of us were projecting Bowers to go at 10 to the Jets, and of course, New York ended up trading down, swapping with Minnesota, and then. I saw some people thought, maybe he'll make it to 12 and Denver will take a shot on him. So, yeah, you're right. I didn't see too many mocks that anticipated him being available to the Raiders.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, Oakland, Los Angeles, Oakland, yes, whatever they are. They were widely being mocked as a team looking for offensive line and quarterback. And then, of course, you had the two premier tackles in this draft go ahead of them. So that kind of took that out of play for them. And of course, like I said, the quarterback panic happened well in front of them. So, I mean, obviously quarterback was
honestly, it's probably better off because who knows about Bo Nix and Penix. And it's like, you end up with Bowers. I mean, who some had like the best player in this entire draft. So maybe, maybe they ended up kind of winning, even though they lost there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And we got these two quarterbacks to talk about, but before we do that, remember guys, put in the chat free, $50 free roll tonight in the best ball draft over on FFWC tonight after the NFL draft. Put in where you think in the chat, where you think Marvin Harrison Jr. will land as the receiver this year. Will he finish number 10, number 8, number 9? Give me the number you think he'll finish, number 23, number 46 overall. For receivers at the end of the year, and you will win the closest person, whoever guesses it on the spot, will win that free entry tonight. Right now, we have Lawrence says he will finish 6th overall at receiver, which would be super cool. Listen, gonna be a target hog, has an established quarterback there, plays in good weather in a dome. I like it.
If you think that, you got to take him you almost have to take him number 1, even in super flex. You got to really consider it, huh?
Yeah, I guess so, for sure. I mean, I'm still going quarterback, but especially because of the way that they adding a Dunze to that receiving core like makes Caleb Williams just.
Let me ask you that, Adam. You're in a super flex draft, rookies, pretty much it. What are you doing at 102? Are you going Harrison?
I'm probably going Harrison. Yes, I have a rookie draft where I've got 3 super flex rookie tight end premium. I have 3, 4, and 7, and I'm probably going to end up going Jaden Daniels and Neighbors, and then maybe at 7 going Bowers or something if Bowers falls. But we'll see how that turns out. All right.
At 102 in one of mine, I have like nothing at quarterback, so I've got to decide: do I want Harrison to beef up the receiving core and then have nothing at quarterback, or am I taking a shot on Jaden Daniels?
McCarthy's interesting one. Which we wanted to talk about here. McCarthy, especially in a super flex. I mean, again, another rookie quarterback that comes into like the Vikings are loaded, right? They're the best receiver in the league, maybe one of the best receivers all time, in Justin Jefferson. You've got Addison. You've got the tight end there. A solid offensive line. McCarthy comes into a sweet spot there, right?
Yeah, and you're talking about play calling too. This is a team that even though after Kirk Cousins went out after 8 games, this team still led the league in passing. So that's the identity, and they had garbage, after Cousins went out. That's their identity at this point. They're going to throw up a ton of volume. And when you're looking at these rookie quarterbacks, JJ McCarthy's arguably the most pro-ready one. He was in a pro-style system there at Michigan. They didn't have a ton of volume, but he checks all the boxes to be successful. I believe the hype that we heard out of the media there in Minnesota that McCarthy was kind of their guy the whole time, and you got to applaud the Vikings brass for kind of sitting back and just letting things play out, not panicking. Kind of smart for them, I guess, at the end to make sure that the Jets weren't willing to trade with somebody else so they could take their guy. So they moved up with New York 1 spot. Didn't cost them much.
No.
And they got their guy. And, from a fantasy perspective, we pretty much know he's starting right away. Got some interesting pieces and straight volume. I guess, from a certain perspective, at this point, he's going to be my QB3. I'm willing to take Jaden Daniels ahead of him because Jaden Daniels has that unbelievable dual threat skill set that just can rack up fantasy points like this and that. And McCarthy's underrated as a runner too. He's definitely in the top tier there in Superflex rookie quarterbacks at this point, and it's quite a drop off now after him.
If you could guarantee, so that one draft that I have 3, 4, and 7, if you could guarantee me McCarthy at 7 in a Superflex, I would probably fade quarterback at 3 and 4 and go like Neighbors and Bowers or something like that. Because you're right. McCarthy's rushing ability is very underrated. Comes from a pro style offense. Like, why can't he be Kirk Cousins? Why can't, you know what I mean? Just out there running play action and just getting the ball to the receiver. Like, I don't think he has to be spectacular. He just has to replace Kirk Cousins. And I think he can do that without all those weapons there. So, I think, and again, I agree with you on Jaden Daniels, that rushing upside is incredible. And so I think and he has some weapons there too. Jaden Daniels does. So,
you have an offensive coordinator there, and Cliff Kingsbury has experience with Johnny Manziel and with Kyler Murray at college at being able to, yes, they ran an air raid type system when he was at offense, but he was able to take these hyper athletic quarterbacks and turn them into very productive two-way players. So we'll see what he can do in the pros with a player like that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, fast forward here. Let's go down to pick 23. Yes, pick 23. Brian Thomas Jr., who was a guy that most people had as their wide receiver 4, kind of lasts a little bit longer than maybe most people thought. A lot of people had him mocked to the Jags. The Jags traded back and still got him at 23. Thoughts on Brian Thomas Jr. to the Jags, joining Christian Kirk, joining Gabe Davis? Is he the number 1 there immediately, or you think he's got to fight for the targets?
No, I think he'll probably end up wavering back and forth between 2 and 3. I've never been, a very big Gabe Davis fan. I think we've brought him up, Adam, many times over the years, and I don't think that his lack of consistency is going to suddenly get better there in Jacksonville. I mean, he is what he is. He's a hit and miss type of guy, and when you look at his fantasy production, I was working on projections and things for the magazine and whatnot earlier, and it's just like maddeningly bad. I mean, you can attest to that. You're talking games with 0 and 3 and 4 points, and then all of a sudden there's 22, and then at that point you put him back in your fantasy lineup, and the next week another 1.3 points. Just crazy. Brian Thomas, overall I liked him. He was clearly the wide receiver 4. I comped him to George Pickens when it comes to kind of a deep speed guy who's got some potential. It's the landing spot there in Jacksonville. Like you said, you're going to have Evan Ingram most likely is going to lead the team in targets, and you got Christian Kirk who's going to get his. And then at that point, you spent that money on Gabe Davis, so obviously the intention with him was to get him involved to kind of replace Calvin Ridley as that deep threat to open things up underneath and all that. So at that point, you're talking about at best, 4th option on an offense that will be, I don't know. It's probably fair to guess that the Jaguars will finish somewhere between, say, 16th, 17th, and 22nd in passing. So you're talking, average volume.
Yeah, no, I agree there. Back to the Gabe Davis point. Gabe Davis, I think, had 3 weeks of 0 fantasy points last year. You know how hard it is in a PPR league with Josh Allen as your quarterback to be his number 2 option and have freaking 0 fantasy points. He's not. Josh Allen made him $40 million. He's not going to go to Jacksonville and get better. So I do like Brian Thomas. I'll probably be on Brian Thomas more than most people because I think you're with me too. I don't
Gabe Davis 100%. I'm not a Gabe Davis fan at all.
I'm not a Gabe Davis fan, so I'm going to end up pushing Brian Thomas up, even though I don't love Brian Thomas either. But he's better than Gabe Davis. Christian Kirk isn't anything spectacular either, although I think Kirk will be the number 1 there and still should see be the number 1 receiver, maybe not behind Evan Ingram, but. I think it was a fine pick for them. They got fine value on him. They get the wide receiver 4 in this draft class back at 23, which is rock solid for them too. Moving on to pick 28, one of your winners of the draft here in your win or loser article, Xavier Worthy The Chiefs are able to trade up with their arch rival. Well, the Bills' arch rival, anyways, is the Chiefs. They trade up. They get Xavier Worthy out of Texas. Winner for Xavier Worthy, yes.
100%. You have to wonder, like, why the Bills traded with the Chiefs. Again, this is a team that they can't beat, and you just allowed them to get the fastest player in NFL Combine history. So, and what was let's face it, it was a down year for Kansas City's offense. Yet they still won the Super Bowl for the second year in a row in a down offense. Now you just injected Hollywood Brown into that offense, and now you just let the fastest player in NFL Combine history into that offense. Immediately will take on that role that we kind of saw with Mecole Hardman, except Worthy's probably better. I think there's some concerns with Worthy, but overall, I mean, you have to think this is a huge upgrade for him, because I actually in my mock thought it made sense at 32. So for them to trade up for him, it tells you that they totally value what he's going to bring to the table for them. Hollywood Brown, it's a 1-year contract for them, and they had to do something now. It's become pretty obvious that Rashee Rice is going to miss multiple weeks. So I like that the Chiefs had the foresight to go ahead and do this. But my hope here is that the Bills, who might have the weakest receiving core in the NFL at this point right now, they must have liked so many of these wideouts. They just decided, you know what, we can just trade down multiple times and we'll get the guy we want. So hopefully, here at 33, if Buffalo sits on that clock, Ladd McConkey, I think that would be a really, really interesting option for them.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey, A.D. Mitchell. There's a couple options. They could trade back again and still get a guy. This tier's so flat, Jody. It's like, yeah, they're going to end up getting somebody.
I guess it just depends on what they're thinking. I think we as a fantasy analyst, we start to sometimes think, oh, well, they're going to look for this deep threat kind of guy to replace what they just lost in Gabe Davis. Makes sense. They don't have to change their offense all that much, and they could save money on the back end, get a younger player, maybe someone who's more consistent. But that's not always the case. Sometimes they'll just look in a different direction. Like and that's Ladd McConkey's, like I said, a fine option, but I think he's different skill set. So I think that would actually cause them to change things. And the team, obviously, this as good as anybody. They're high on Khalil Shakir, so it's still obviously a dramatic need for them, but we'll have to see. Look, obviously they had, like you just said, a flat tier of guys that they liked, and they're just trusting the process.
And here's the thing, too. People don't understand, like, different offenses need different types of players, different quarterbacks. These teams that play the Chiefs, these teams that play the Bills with their elite quarterbacks, they play this cover 4 shell, this deep threat. They don't allow – teams don't allow the Bills and Chiefs to go over the top for these long touchdowns anymore. It's kind of dink and dunk and run after the catch. So they, you can have a fast burner or whatever all you want, but if teams don't let you go deep, you can't go deep. Now, so – and also back to Xavier Worthy. I mean, the Chiefs have had Sky Moore. The Chiefs have had Kadarius Toney. Like, I'm talking fantasy wise. Like, just because there's a talent guy in air quotes that put in this offense, it doesn't mean he's going to end up hitting, right? So, like, I would be, I think Xavier Worthy's a winner, but I wouldn't go too crazy over him in your rookie dynasty drafts. Like, let's wait to see. I would take, if the Bills take a receiver right here, I would take the Bills receiver that they take here over Xavier Worthy, because I think he's going to be the Bills wide receiver 1, and B, Allen has kind of made when they get guys there, Allen makes them money. Stephon Diggs was awesome with Allen. Gabe Davis, he made him $40 million. Gabe Davis has some massive games with them. He even made Khalil Shakir look good last year. Shakir will be good this year. Whereas Mahomes he passes it around. I just named Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, 2 guys that have done absolutely nothing.
And I love that you brought that to the table, that you talked about, hey, let's not over emphasize just because it's the Chiefs and just because it's Patrick Mahomes, because you're right. I mean, those guys burned a lot of fantasy people last year.
And they got Marquise Brown now too. And they still got, Rice will probably play. I don't think he's getting suspended this year, but even if he does, he'll be there the rest of the season. So just be careful with that. We'll talk about one more guy and then we'll let you out of here, Jody, because I know we got to go. Yet a big loser was Ricky Pearsall for the Niners draft him. What do you think?
Well, to me, that comes with an asterisk. I actually like Ricky Pearsall, and I think it was a very savvy pick for San Francisco. However, it comes with a caveat. Are they legitimately looking to trade Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk? And that's, to me, is the caveat, because at best, you look at the role in Kyle Shanahan's offense for their third wide receiver, and it's fifth at best on the depth chart for targets. That's the kind of numbers that's going to get you 35 catches and 412 yards and 3 touchdowns a year. Not exactly the kind of numbers you're looking at out of a rookie wideout that you invest one of your early dynasty picks on. However, like I said, the rumors keep swirling that first they were looking to trade Ayuk, and now it's Deebo who the teams are asking about. If that happens, then personally I take Pearsall to winner. So I wasn't trying to be harsh by saying that Ricky Pearsall's a loser, but if San Francisco's depth chart remains in place heading into August, then it's hard for me to see him getting enough targets in that offense in that role to pay off whatever dynasty asset you had to put in for him.
Yeah, no, exactly. They got to. I think they are going to trade one of them. But listen, I like any offense.
That's the case. Hey, then you move Pearsall up to big winners. Then he becomes a wide receiver 2 for Kyle Shanahan. Then I'm interested.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting which receiver that they end up trading to. I would trade Deebo. I think he's always hurt. And Ayuk's younger and I think excellent. So that'll be interesting there. Great ideas today for the winners and losers. Great first round, second and third round tonight. Going to be exciting movement all over the place. Trades, receivers. We could see 13 receivers go off the board tonight. So that'll be huge fantasy implications for all the teams involved. So where did I have Marvin Harrison? I put it in the private chat. I thought Marvin Harrison Jr. would finish 10th overall this year at receiver. That's 10th. Lawrence said 6th. Jose said 14th. Those are both 4 off from 10. So good luck, Scott, figuring that out. But Scott will reach out to Lawrence and Curtis. Maybe he'll spin the wheel tonight. Maybe he'll give both you guys a prize tonight. But thanks for putting that in the chat, guys. I really like him this year. Listen, Jody's the numbers guy. He'll crunch all his numbers. He'll have all his projections. We'll have a show breaking all that down in a month or so when kind of all that kind of starts to settle in. When do you usually get your initial rankings out there, Jody?
Oh, my rankings are already posted, but they're
projections. Yeah.
Projection. Yeah. I think at this point,
a while,
a few weeks to a month.
Yeah.
Before I get into the dungeon here.
That's right. So, all right, guys. Thanks so much for joining the show again. Subscribe, follow the show. Full-Time Fantasy. Jody and I'll be on here a bunch. I'm going to have guests on here all year. We'll be doing live drafts. Hopefully we'll get Jack Colsheen back on here as well. And we'll have a good time. But everybody enjoy the draft tonight and tomorrow, and we'll see you next time.